just need to not move my focus off of what I'm doing. Other people can do it just very nicely. I don't. I know what it takes for me to I pride myself on cutting good lights, and I know what it takes to do that, and you have to focus. So, my world becomes very myopic and very small right before a race.
Yeah, you just want to get in the good mind frame for the race, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I learned that with ski racing. I had never really been competitive. I was around horses and motorcycles and stuff, but I had never been competitive until I got into circle boat racing and water ski racing. And it's all about keeping your head in the game and being prepared before you get there, and that way what you do after you're there is just automatic. It's muscle memory and, just doing what you do best.
Yeah, you want to try not to have any distractions before the race?
Absolutely, yeah. It's and you get some, you're there are times when we didn't have time to seat the clutch before I went up to make a pass. Those kinds of things can rattle you a little bit, or you're putting the engine back together, something just isn't right, so you have to keep taking the head off, or whatever, blower, whatever's going on. And so you're late getting up there, and so you have to be able to tune all that out and focus on what you got to do. Focus on the job. Very simple. All you have to do is pay attention for just a few seconds. But they're big seconds. It's a big second.
Yeah.
And, the idea that, and I appreciate teams where, if you nail a wall and you destroy the car, they just bring out another one. You see that and you hear that with NHRA. And God bless them. It's good that they have that. I never had that luxury. If I tore something up, I knew it was coming out of my budget, and there might not be another car that I could get in. And so I've always been very careful with my equipment, and at times that costs you a win. It does. But if you don't have that luxury, then you have to live for another day. When everything is right, maybe you can win.
Yeah.
I see a lot of drivers who don't, especially now, because the expectation in the NHRA and stuff is that you're going to win, and so they leave their foot in it and they blow stuff up. But they have, 10 more engines sitting in the trailer, or 15, or whatever it is. It's not a big deal, and they allow you to bring in a second car if you destroy one. So if you're bucks up, then you just keep throwing cars at them. So the driver stops hitting walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good drivers out there. That I have a lot of respect for. Erica Andrews, Leah, excellent drivers. Just truly that could drive anything. Melanie Troxel could drive anything. She's no longer, she doesn't have a ride, but geez, you have a lot of respect for her. She won in both Top Fuel and Funny Car, and drove the heck out of Pro Mod, just like Leah. And I think they really have an appreciation for digging to get there, as opposed to, things being handed. Doesn't mean that they're any less drivers, just I think there's a different level of experience, and they look at things a little bit different.
And you have Mindy Fry out there in the Nostalgia Top Fuel.
She did really well, didn't she, this year? I was reading the other day. In fact, she's on the list of people I want to talk to, women in drag racing, and she's been around a long time. She ran. She was running when I was running, and I don't know if she's been running the whole time, because when I stopped driving a car, I just sort of lost contact. I didn't go to drag races or any of that. But she did a great job, had great support from a team, and kudos to her. That's competitive. Then Nostalgia, Funny Car, and Top Fuel is very competitive. They're very serious. So kudos to her. She did a great job. Great job. Yep.
Do you know Lisa Kubo?
I don't. No.
Yeah,
I don't know her.
she's driving the Nitro Mafia funny car now.
On the for nostalgia.
Yeah,
nostalgia?
out there in California.
I haven't met her yet. I'm gonna try and go over to that March meet and connect with some folks. I need to anyway. So hopefully I'll get to meet her over there.
Yeah, she's driving for the Cosamanos, Bob and Scott. Yeah, they got the Nitro Mafia team.
Yeah.
Then
it's getting more and more competitive. I hope that they, NHRA. I hope NHRA slows that down a little bit, because I think that whole idea has built itself up, and it's being very successful, and it'll continue to unless they keep making it pricier and pricier and pricier to run. And then, they'll do to it what's happened with drag racing, where it just runs away from most people financially.
Well, that's a good thing about nostalgia. It's not as costly as the big show NHRA event.
No, it's not as costly, but it has the costs have ran up the last couple of years, from what I've been told, have really increased with some changes that they made about what you could run and what you couldn't run. Same with the altereds. I hope that they get a handle on that, because that would be a real loss. Because I enjoy watching those guys run. Guys, and I'm using women with the guys. Because they're a fun group to watch. They take it seriously. They run fast speeds. They do great burnouts. It's deja vu of how it used to be.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people miss about the funny cars in NHRA, the big burnouts.
Oh, those were fun. Those were really a lot of fun. We would have, and it was before, now there's throttle stops on them, because the blowers are different. But before, when I first got into it, we didn't. And, there were burnout contests. When you went to a match race, they would tell you whoever got the longest burnout got an extra $500 or $1,000. And that was no one wanted to not win that. I mean, it was just too much fun. So we all got into doing half-track to full-track burnouts. It was fun. The burnouts they're a hoot. It's like hitting the throttle on ice. And typically that's the most aggressive driving that you do in the car is in burnout. I loved them. It was fun. All the smoke coming into the cockpit. It was great.
Yeah, then remember all the dry hopping back in the day?
The very first one in '88, when I first got my license, they were dry hopping, and I did. Yeah, that was fun too. But by the next year, when I really, or by the time I came back for Johnny, that was gone. The first person I ever raced in an NHRA race was Kenny Bernstein, and that was when he was the champion. And I remember lining up next. We were in the staging lanes, and they pulled up, and it was he and I, and I'm sitting in my seat melting because I'm going, oh Jesus, he's bad. He's like number one, and I'm going to run against him. I think it was my husband that said something to the effect of, yeah, but he's not going to hit you. He's a good enough driver. He's not going to hit you because he's number one, which was true, of course. So it was fun because you do a nice long burnout, you back up and dry hop a bad boy, and then get up to the line. It was just more staging stuff, it was more anticipation.
Yeah, it's a big staging duel.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun when even lighting the fuel car up, because you sit there and everything shakes. It's just there's so much horsepower. It just sits there and shakes, and you're going, God, this is going to be really fun. This is a good thing. This is such a good thing. You're burning, fuel at $50 a gallon or whatever it is. But the burnouts were fun, and there were contests, and I loved doing the side-by-side stuff, although it was tricky. But doing side-by-side burnouts that was a hoot too. And I liked night racing. Most people did not like night racing. I've always liked it. Because I like, when you hit the throttle, you get a bank of flames on either side of where you're sitting. And it's just awesome. It just adds to the thrill of driving them, I think. But, a number of match races, once you go through especially on some of the lesser financed tracks, you'd go through the lights. And as soon as you cut the fuel off, it would be dark. You'd hear the engine winding down, and it'd be dark. Really dark. It was interesting times. I'm sure that, there's still some match racing. I know there's still some match races. I hit a couple of them in the last couple of years that are really underfinanced. Interesting places to go. Good people, though. Always good people.
Yeah, with the funny car case, you could see dry hopping on some of these guys. Like especially this new young kid, Jordan Blue. He drives a Aka funny car, blown Aka, the Blue Thunder. If you ever watch his videos, he's like the dry hop king.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen him drive or not. Yeah, it's fun. Anything that makes the experience of being in the cockpit longer for a driver, other than something bad happening, is good. I mean, and certainly doing the long smoky burnouts is a crowd pleaser, and it's a hoot to be in the cockpit doing it. I mean, it's as much fun for us as it is for people who are watching it. It really is. I really thought having to put a throttle stop on the car, because to me, that was part of the adventure of it all. Was, and really, when I started, all you had to do was sort of move your big toe to do the burnout, because there's so much power there. And there's a lot of pride in how you did it, and guys would kind of give each other a hard time if one did better than the other. So, burnouts were as much of a pride thing with drivers, I think, as the past was, which is kind of quirky, but true.
Yeah, the fans still love the long smoky burnout. So you don't see the long smoky burnout, they all stand up and give a standing ovation.
Oh yeah, you could not win. You could not even run, and if you did a burnout, you were in. Yeah, T-shirt sales were up, and you were going to do well that weekend. No, and I think I see in the grassroots kind of racing, like we're talking about with the chaos cars and the reunion type of events, and some of the fuel altered events that I've been to. The fans are different than the ones that you see in a lot of respects in the ones in HRA, because they're very appreciative of the fact, number one, that you're there, and they don't, they know there's a difference between NHRA and what you're doing and the track size and all that stuff. They're very appreciative, and I enjoy talking to them. A number of them have become friends, over the years, and remain friends from when I raced before. Drag racing folks are some of the best people you'll ever meet. I mean, they really are. And the fans are amazing. They've always been that. And they've always been really, really good to me. Can't say enough about that.
Yeah, that's why they say drag racing is one big family that just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah. It was interesting when I first started in the Injected Association. There was a real kinship there, and I was such a rookie. I mean, I didn't even know how much air to put in the rear tires on the funny car when I first started. And these guys just sort of went, okay, Paula, here's so much air. Because if you do it like that, you're going to look like a cartoon character because the car's going to bounce down the track. God, I don't know. I can't remember how much I had in the rear tires. It's some awful amount. And they were really, you know, we'd stay after the races and barbecues and all that stuff. And when I moved to the alcohol funny car area, it got more, it changed. The flavor of it changed when I went to fuel. It really changed. Now, you know, some folks developed really close friendships. It was just so competitive that, and you're so busy with the business of racing, it was really hard I found it a little bit more difficult to form friendships. And I'm kind of a shy person anyway, so, you know, I'm probably not the one standing out, you know, there going and waving at other racers and all that stuff. They were always helpful. Jim Head, I went to him one time because the fuel tank was vortexing and I couldn't figure out why we were getting lean on the top end. And in typical Jim Head, you know, cerebral way, he explained to me, you know, it's kind of like flushing a toilet in terms of vortex. And, you know, there were people like that I had a great deal of respect for that, you know, I could go to and kind of have my hat in my hand and go, what do you think about? But I didn't, unlike a lot of the racers that I talked to, the relationships with other racers was arm's length because we were all competing against each other. I mean, in business, and plus I was a woman, and that made a difference too. They weren't condescending or anything like that, but they were. I think it's just a difference. There's just a difference.
Right. So now, Paula, what have been some of your favorite tracks to run on?
I'm sorry.
What have been some of your favorite tracks to race on?
You know, people always ask me that, and I'm going to tell you the ones that I really. My value of tracks has to do with a couple of things. It has to do with the fans first. It really does. How much fun it is to run there. And it used to have to do with the bathrooms. Because if it was only porta potties, I didn't like that track. If it was everything being equal, bathrooms being equal, I liked the tracks that I had to really drive on. And so Tulsa was one of my all-time favorites. Kansas City, Cordova, the big track, Pomona I liked. Gila River was my home track, so of course I liked it. I found it easy to run. Houston. We went South Georgia a little bit the last couple of years, and it's a nice little track to go down. Dallas always kind of scared me because it's such a rail. It has where the cars run. It's kind of like a subway rail almost, and you slip out of that at all, and you're going to get in trouble, as evidenced by a lot of the wrecks that occur there. I mean, it's a fast track, and it's an awesome venue for it. I mean, you can't. There's nothing wrong with the track at all, but it was always a little scary to me. Indy was a surprise. I thought it would be bigger, but it really wasn't. Montreal, when we ran there, was really awesome. But NHR changed that their schedule to not include there. So yeah, that's a lot of tracks. But Spokane, Spokane was terrific. Spokane was just it was an event. It wasn't just a racetrack. Spokane was an event. Great match races there. Track was marginal. But he had he would always have this great golf tournament before for racers, and he just treated us so well. Very nice guy. Very nice. Loved it. So yeah, so you can tell that I'm not a big truck kind of gal. I've never ran on the 4 wide ones. I don't know how those would be. That would be an interesting thing to do, I think. Hopefully I'll get to do that. That would be hard, I think.
Yeah, have you ever ran up in Martin, Michigan?
Oh yeah, I did a night race there. It was very humid. It was very humid. We went up there and then went on up into Canada. Martin, Michigan, kind of sits on some marshland. You probably already know that, and so you fight humidity so much that we were putting hair blow dryers, in my helmet and in the inside of the funny car to try and keep the amount of fog down when we actually went to make the pass. And when I was racing up there, there were no lights past the finish line. Nor was there. There was a safety crew down on the starting line, but there wasn't one on the top end. So the expectation was, when drivers got out after your pass, that you would stay up there until the next set ran down. So, because you were going to be the fire crew. So you'd keep all your fire equipment, your fire suit and all that stuff on, and you were the fire crew. They gave me a fire extinguisher. That was interesting. There were a few tracks like that. Cordova was cool. It had dirt staging lanes when I ran it. But great people.
Have you raced at Norwalk?
No, I have not. No, I have not.
How about Great Lakes Dragway in Wisconsin?
Where?
Great Lakes Dragway in Union Grove, Wisconsin. Have you ever been there?
No. I just recently went to Bowling Green. I thought that was a nice place. But no, I never went to Great Lakes. I've seen some films on it.
Yeah, it's been there since like 1955. Have you been to Route 66 in Illinois?
Yes. Yeah, I went there for naturals a couple of years ago, I think. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I haven't been to a lot of the 8th Mile tracks. I've been to, I think, most of the NHRA tracks in Calgary, Montreal, Epping before it was a national event. Liked going there. We were the thing was you'd go Martin, Michigan, then go up through Toronto over to Montreal, and then from Montreal back down to Epping, and then Englishtown. Usually, I think there was like a on circuit. Most of us that match raced, Hoover and all those guys, kind of followed the same path. IHRA, Bristol, and those places. I enjoyed racing IHRA as well. They were a little bit more relaxed than NHRA. Not as intense of an experience, but nice people. Good association.
Yeah, it's sad that Englishtown doesn't have drag racing no more.
Isn't that sad? I mean, that was like an epic track. I don't know. Was it because I never heard why they were doing that? I assumed it was because of population moving in on. I didn't know, but
yeah, I'm not sure either.
Reading I always liked because there's so much oxygen in the air. So much oxygen in the air from the trees, from the maples, and it was a nice track to get down. There was always there was a dip in the right lane, I think, that always kind of bumped your car up and gave you a nudge when you were, running really fast. It was a little bit worse than that, but I thought it was a great track.
So now, Paula, what have been some of the milestones that you've reached in your drag racing career?
Every time I changed cars, moved up to a different car, I had, I felt like I hit a milestone. The first one, of course, was hitting 200 miles an hour. Everybody goes, because they got about 108, 110 in the boat, circle boat. And I in the race car, I didn't get the same charge, I guess, adrenaline, whatever, in the race car until I started going well over 200 that I got in the boat. So, first it was 200. What does that feel like? Then it was, 250, and past that. And the milestones were, can we qualify at every national event? Can I beat this guy? And sometimes, because if you're racing somebody who financially is so distant from you are, I tried to pride myself on always leaving first, and I did that a lot. And so when you talk about milestones, my getting back in a car at this point in my life, that's a milestone. I think. Who knew? Really, just past 40, much less 50 or 60, and you think, oh, I'll never do that again. And then, a miracle happens. You get to do what you really love to do and you're really passionate about again. That's a real big milestone. Probably not the one you had in mind, but I think most of my milestones were in, can I beat this guy on this day? And I hit a lot of those. And when I was circle boat racing and when I was water skiing, I surpassed my goals and did better than I ever thought I would do at those. I kind of try and couple them with personal milestones so that they don't get so heady that I think I start believing that I'm all that. I try to be reasonable about what I do, thoughtful about it, mindful, I guess. That sounds good, doesn't it? Mindful, yeah. I think I'm mindful.
Yeah.
So the milestones that I have, you don't get there by yourself. You don't have crew that are there with you. And it's a lot more fun if it's a group milestone. And so we had a lot of that, probably more so than individual milestones. Once I started going fast, it was like it became more about what the team could do. It really did, because this is a sport of having the right team with the right attitude and having their support to be able to look good on the racetrack. And without having them, you're just it's not only is setting your own personal milestones fun, but you're not going to get there either. You really have to engage everybody in setting goals and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah. So what would you consider the biggest win of your career?
I runnered up at Spokane, and I was very happy about that because that is a track you have to drive down, and I was in the finals. I raced Gary Dincham, and you couldn't tell who won at the end. And it was a lot of fun for the weekend in terms of just the venue, and it was fun because I raced really good drivers and beat them. I was never a person that liked to beat people because their car broke or it didn't run like it was supposed to. I like to do the heads up, race your best race that day, and let me beat you. Not let me beat you, but I would beat you. And that goes for any sport or anything that I endeavor to do. I want to come out on top of the race when you do your best, because that means something. If I beat you because your car broke, you were responsible for your car breaking, or your team was, or whatever part was. But it's not the same as when you both are blasted down through there and you just beat them off the starting line, or you beat them at the top end, and you both ran well. That to me is those. When I look back at the times that I had the most fun and it meant the most, and there were a lot of times that meant the most, that would be one of them. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a few fun questions here before we finish up this interview. You ready for a few fun questions, Paula?
Oh yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, outside of drag racing, you have any other hobbies?
Oh sure, yeah. Horses have always been in my life. The Clydesdales now, like I said, I volunteer and work with Clydesdales twice a week. They're huge animals. They're fun. They're big gentle giants. Um, I I was snow skiing last night, so I still do that occasionally. I play golf, or I go out and I play at golf. Um, so yeah, I work out quite a bit. And so yeah, I guess that's pretty much cool. I like doing stuff around my house. I currently fix up houses and sell them, and so I'm always hustling and changing stuff in my house. I guess you'd call that a hobby. And I've got a couple of animals that I think I'm their hobby. I don't know if they're my hobby, but they rule my life.
All right, so what's been the most embarrassing moment you had on the track?
Oh, there's so many. At Indy, again, in my first year at Indy, we knew we would need more crew guys because it was just the four of us on the team at the time. And so Johnny called in a couple of his teams, and they were used to racing. And so the fact that this happened was kind of odd. So I did my burnout, and in my burnout, I lifted the floor. So, the body, that was back when we had fiberglass body. So it moved the body, and subsequently I shut off. Buster Couch was the starter then. And I forget what side of the track we had the tow vehicle already pulled over to in the lane to come down and pick me up. Well, it became obvious they were going to have to tow me back to the trailer. So the guy that came over to hook up the car, instead of going in the racing lane and then coming over in front of me, actually almost hit Buster Couch. He came right across the starting area. And, Buster was livid. He was just livid, well, because there's a tow vehicle coming right through his area at him, which is very bad to do with Buster. He was not very tolerant of errant behavior. And so the next day I went to a place and got Groucho Marx, one of those little, where the mustache and the big nose.
Right.
And I put that on inside my helmet. And, of course, he was, at that point, he would come over and say, okay, light him up. And so he looks in, and he would always ask you if you were ready, and so I love it. And so he looks in there, and he looks at and he took a picture, and it went up on the Winston screen of me and my Groucho Marx thing. So that was, because I didn't think anybody would understand why I did that. It was a takeoff on, maybe if he doesn't see me, he'll stop beating me up about what my crew did I did yesterday. That was probably the worst thing. I don't remember, I knock on wood, let me knock on my desktop here. I never hit anything, I never really did a bunch of stupid stuff. So I think that's probably the most embarrassing time.
Okay. So now, if you were able to do time traveling and go back in time, would you do anything differently with the drag racing career?
Oh yeah, I would do things differently. In this respect, when I had a sponsor, I could not get. I did not have a crew chief that worked well with me, and vice versa, probably from their perspective. So I wish I had stopped long enough to regroup and get a crew chief that really was good at what they were doing and that fit with our team. Because I think I wasted an opportunity one year when I was well financed and we were just blowing stuff up, a lot of stuff up. I would do that over. But there's not, I look back at my life, and there's not a lot I would do over or do differently, there are decisions that you make all through your life that you go, geez, what the heck were you thinking when you did that? But in general, I'm okay with it all. Except for that one year, I wish I had done it differently.
All right,
So,
now.
yeah.
Okay, now what would be your favorite food that you like to eat?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate chip.
Although my crew would probably tell you cheese sandwiches. But no, it's chocolate chip cookies. I will eat them over any other food type. Yeah, sadly.
All right, what's your favorite beverage?
Oh, this is terrible. Diet Mountain Dew. And it has, somebody was saying to me yesterday, and I know it has a ton of chemicals in it, but I got to tell you that it's addictive and I love it. Yep. It'd be Diet Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
I used to drink, my fair share of alcohol. I really don't. When I drink alcohol, it's usually a little bit of wine or something. My favorite is champagne, but I don't really drink that much. The older you get, the less you can eat. And so, if it's drink or eat, I'd rather eat. When you come to empty calories, give me the chocolate chip cookie over the champagne every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my wife's addicted to the regular Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Oh God. I was always into Tab or Diet Coke, Coke products. And I went down south. When I went down to the school, because I was driving the cars, the day after I got my license at the school, I went up to South Georgia Raceway to drive another car, and they didn't have any Coke when I stopped. So I got a pack of this, and that was the beginning of the addiction. That's what stopped me. A woman possessed on it. And it does, it's not particularly good for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no pop's good for you.
No pop's good for you. A lot of things in life aren't good for you that are tasty and are fun.
Yeah. So what's Paula Martin's favorite music to listen to?
I'm pretty well-rounded on that. I can go anywhere from country to classical because I like it all. But more often than not, on when I'm traveling, I'll usually have rock and roll, more of the old stuff from probably the 70s and 80s, and some of the newer country. But I can get into classical as well. I'm pretty well-rounded when it comes to that. Mm-hmm.
All right, now
when I'm working out, of course, I have the stuff that makes your ears sore listening to. But for listening music, I detune it a bit.
Okay. So, what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career?
When I qualified at Indy, that would be one of them. Because it was so hard, and it meant so much to myself. I was married then to my husband, and to the whole team it meant a lot because we were in a war in terms of just trying to qualify. And I think I qualified my first year there, 13th to 14th, I think, and that would be one of the fondest.
All right, now, how important do you think it is for the families to bring their kids out to watch drag racing this day and age?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think it's really critical that people take their kids with them to a variety of things so they get exposed to it, something other than their telephones. If after taking a kid once or twice and they go, I really don't want to go, then I think you pull the plug on that. But in terms of being a family sport, I mean, you see so many people who really have an advantage because they grew up in the sport and around the sport. And so I think that's such a serious advantage. And I think it's killer that they have the junior dragster program.
Yeah.
I mean, what a way to bring up racers. I mean, it's perfect. And I think it teaches kids how to compete, how to get tough mentally, how to work with their parents. I think there's nothing but good things that come from that. But I think it's also hard to not all kids want to do it. In talking to a lot of the race car drivers, they'll have one kid that's head over heels, loves it to death, and the other one can care less. They want to go to a symphony concert that day rather than come to the drag strip. So I have to listen to them, I think. Expose them to it and then listen to them whether they really want to go or not.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. For only one person in the family to be involved in racing. I think it's very hard, whether you're male or female, if you're the only one that's, you're leaving on Thursday night to go race for the weekend, and you're leaving things with crew guys, but it's different. It's different when it's a person that you really, people that you really care about, people from home.
Yep.
My family was not involved in racing at all. They were raised in a small town in Texas. It was a ranch and farm community, and not only did they not know anything about it, I think my dad might have. My mom came to one race and never came back, as did my brother. My dad came to a Dallas race, but it was interesting because one of the things, his only response to it, he was knew nothing about it. I think his only response was when they came out with the baseball cards in 90, 91, I think 92, somewhere like that. And I had one, and he said something about he never expected his daughter to have a baseball card. They really weren't into it, and they didn't. They wanted me to be successful if that's what I wanted to be, but they didn't really have a lot of interest in it. And I think, look at families where there's, the parents are there and it's very supportive, and I think that's terrific. I envy that, I guess, to a certain extent. Wish I'd had that. Didn't stop me, but boy, that's a nice thing. That's a good thing. The whole family is supportive of each other like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Paula, if people want to, people listening want to see where you're going to be racing at with the car, what's the best way for them to find the schedule?
We'll be posting it. I'm sure Sam and I will be posting it on our Facebook. I'm on Facebook. People are welcome to friend me on that. We'll be, at least initially, we're going to go out with the chaos schedule, the Funny Car Chaos schedule. And then I'll be working to get us some match races. As those progress, then I'll post it on my Facebook page. So, friend me, and I will friend you back.
Sounds good. Well, Paula, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun.
You have any
enjoyable.
You have any final words or thank yous you want to do before you get off?
No. You've been great. I've enjoyed it. Thank you, and see everybody at the race.
All right. Thanks again, Paula. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.